Okay, everybody. So, welcome to the first online book launch for Dying into Love, a sacred journey for the body and soul. Thank you all so much to those of you who are present live here. It's so lovely to see you all. And welcome to all of those who will be joining us via the recording. So I would like for us to begin to go in and begin with a prayer. So if we bring ourselves into the awareness of our breath, allowing that breath to fall gently into your belly, making its way all the way down, all the way in, finding your own natural rhythm of breathing. Allowing the belly to soften, relax, and let go. Let go of any tension. Let go of any worry. And simply opening to the presence of this moment. The presence of your body. The presence of your soul. And breathing into your heart space. Breathing into the front of your heart, the front of your chest. Letting it gently expand and contract. Creating spaciousness. Breathing into the sides of your heart, really allowing the rib cage to open. Again, your own natural rhythm of breathing, your own natural pace. And breathing into the back of your heart, opening, creating space, and also relaxing. Again, relaxing into presence. The presence of your own being. And so I dedicate this launch, as I have dedicated this book, to all of those souls who have died, all those who are now dying. And all those who will die. And so I invite you in this moment to gather any family members, loved ones, friends, pets, children who have died. Simply acknowledging them and their presence in whichever realm they are now living, in whichever form they are now living. Or simply acknowledging them in your heart. Extending love to them and receiving love from them. We welcome them all into this sacred circle, into the sacred presence of love. And I welcome and invite the presence of Archangel Raphael, the angel of healing. May your healing grace fall gently into each one of us and into souls who are most in need at this time. Welcome the presence of Archangel Michael, the angel of protection. May we all be protected in a healthy way. May all souls receive the protection they need. And we welcome Archangel Gabriela, the angel of letting go. And we let go. And we pray that all souls who are struggling in this time to let go may also receive that help. And we welcome Archangel Uriala, the angel of light. May this light be ignited within each one of us. May the presence of our being overflow with this light and love. We welcome the Holy Mother, the Divine Mother in all of her forms, all of her faces, all of her energies of the earth, of the cosmos. We are your children. And when we die, we are like the child returning home to you. We welcome your tenderness, your love. And we call in for each one of us the one who liberates. That might be Yeshua, Jesus, Buddha, Allah, love itself. Simply inviting that presence in. And we ask these energies to send this book out into the world so that it may reach into the hearts, the hands, the souls, the bodies of all of those who most need it at this time. And for all of those who wish to begin to prepare their own death journey. Just bringing a greater awareness into the reality of the death journey. So we give thanks for gathering together. We give thanks for extending the energy out. We give thanks for becoming the true presence of love in our world, both to the living and to the dying and to the dead. Amen and amen. So, as you may realize from that prayer, the whole premise of this book is death is the presence of love. Death is the presence of love. And there's a place here where I speak that death takes us into a timelessness. I think anybody who has worked with those who are passing, that there is a palpable presence of a greater presence at work, at play. And it's as if the dead are taking us on a journey into the eternal. And what I feel is that is exactly what they are doing. Not only are they making forays themselves into eternity, but they are also taking us with them into that eternal realm. And I think the most important thing, another aspect that I feel vital from the book, is I firmly believe we all knew how to die once. We all knew, but we've forgotten. It's got lost. It was taken over by authorities. And so part of the premise of this book and my hope is that it will take people out of a helplessness and allow them once more to remember that, yes, I know what to do. Because when my mum, when I first realized she was dying, there was this rising of, I don't know what to do. And yet underneath there was another voice who knew, and being who knew exactly what to do. So this is also part of the book, is like we all have that wisdom within us. and that we can access that if we can access our own wisdom presence. Then we will know what to do in the time. And of course, each and every death is going to be completely different. This particular journey is from the time of diagnosis and through. So we go through the shock for the family and the person who is now dealing with the diagnosis. We go through the disbelief of that. Then we go into like, okay, what is now needed? Facing the reality of what's needed. And often if a person is of course dying a longer death, body comfort is a very big part of that. And also soul comfort. So the book journeys through these places, and it really comes into the larger questions that people will face, the philosophical, the spiritual, the emotional, both for the carers and for the person dying. And it will journey all the way through. It journeys all the way through to the very last breath. And then how we then, if we're the carers, how we can help that person even after they've taken their last breath. So there are just very simple, poetic reflections that enable us then to know what to do and to give us back the power of tending to our own dying ones. So, and then also just opening the door to have further communication with them on the other side, and how we can still continue to help them on their journey. So I think really for me, it's accessing our wisdom again. That's the most important, and trusting in that wisdom. And trusting that if you sit in the silence and the spaciousness long enough, you will know what to do. So there's a reflection here based on that. And it's based on that same sense of, yes, I don't know what to do. How can I help? And most of it is, we need to come to terms with that. So it's our time to remember. And this is a reflection called support. Stop right now and breathe. Panicked mind, breaking heart. They need a moment to be, a place to feel. Let it out. Then we can speak about support. Ready? To hold up from below is the meaning. To hold up from below is the meaning. What does that mean? You scream at me. Find your steady place. Below. The place that holds firm in the storms and rises in the morning, even when your insides are dark. The place that sings to the baby, even when fear is prowling at the door. The place where love lives. This is who holds you and your loved one from below. When you two become friends, then you will know what to do. So it's remembering again and again and again that place from below, and coming back in again and again and trusting that all will be given for you to deal with whatever is arising. And, you know, death can bring out so many things because it seems to unearth everything. I know it did in my family when my mum was dying. And so we not only need this support and this ability to go deep within, below, to find that inner support. So we're really talking inner support, because there'll be family things that rise up too. So that also needs to be dealt with as compassionately as possible. And of course, there's a poem for who is dying. Is who is dying? That's a real question. Who is dying? No one wants to die. Not really. Maybe only those who are tortured by life, one way or another. But you and me here today, we all have that voice within, the voice of our small human life, with all our thoughts and desires, our likes and dislikes, bodies and blood, extended families and friends, good times and bad. We don't want any of that to end. Well, maybe that last one could go. But below that voice lies another, the voice of eternity. This is the one who does not die. We just sometimes get the voices mixed up. So I think for us all, we're going to encounter that grief of letting go of the small life, the all of our likes and dislikes, all of our regrets, all of our unfinished business. But if we can accept and be willing, and if we can help others to accept and be willing to know that this is just one life, this is just one life, and that the voice of eternity, that place of eternity within you, is the one who doesn't die. So that life does go on. It can make it much easier to let go. So that the focus shifts. And I think this is where that the dead taking us into eternity comes in, because their focus shifts as they let go bit by bit, let go of the body, let go of life. Life becomes very small in the outer sense, but very big and rich in the inner sense. I know, for instance, my mum, every night she would ask me to come in and fill her with the golden light. She was a great believer in color therapy. And so she asked me to fill her with golden light every night. And it brought her peace and would take her into this other realm of her being. And so I would be there with her and I would fill her from her toes, just visualizing it and energetically, I guess, creating it, seeing that energy fill her whole body from her toes all the way through her legs, all the way up through the whole of her body. And night after night, we would do this. And I would begin to track her soul. And I realized she was traveling once she, became used to this energy. She then traveled into her voice of eternity or her greater soul, whatever one wants to speak of. And she exclaimed, "Oh my God, it is so beautiful." She was seeing her own greater soul. And another time she said, "Oh, it's so light." And so she was having these forays, into her greater soul, into the ability to let go here, excuse me, and to reach into the other realm, her other being, where she was going. And that was just so beautiful to witness and to watch. And so many times when they're dying, they sleep a lot, or they just, or they come back from sleep and they're very disoriented. You can bet that that is because they've had a little foray into where they're going. So, I call them practice runs. so they're getting prepared, because many souls don't know that they have died when they've died. It's like there's a spiritual amnesia. And so these forays can actually help a soul become more orientated, because they can get very disorientated. Yes, Claire, rehearsal. I like that. Yeah. So it's yeah, and we all need a bit of rehearsal, I think, because it can be shocking suddenly not to have the gravity of the body. And you don't go immediately into other realms. There is the period of a 3-day wait. It's like the 3 days that Yeshua spent in the tomb. There is this period of no thingness, of the dark. And some souls who wake up here panic. My sister panicked. And I had the image of her with a flashlight going, "Where am I? Where am I? Where am I?" And another soul who came into consciousness was like, "What do I do now? What do I do now?" And so it's actually a liminal space for the soul to adjust to not having a body. And then it moves into its onward journey. So for those of you who know, I also work with souls after they've died, and we always wait for that 3-day period, because it's their time of their own liminal time. Though if souls awaken in consciousness, then I will just steady them, and like with my sister, just to placate them and to bring that panic down. So that's but that's sort of more to come in the next book in the series. But there is prayers for that too, here, where we can remind those who have died by simply whispering to them, if the body is still within the home, which I think it's time we brought death back home as much as possible. And if we don't have the body there, we can just simply go into their soul space and whisper to them very gently, "You have died. You have died. It's time to let go now." And this can help the soul orientate. So they can orient, they can start to like, okay. And so that can be a helpful. So there's reflections in there that help with that too. There's reflections for the angels, the angel of comfort. the angel of healing, the angel of protection, and the angel of release. So prayers to the Divine Mother, prayers to your own liberator, who that may be, so that we have the prayers here, so that oftentimes if we're in shock or if we're so tired, which you can get exhausted when you're, taking care of the dying, these prayers are right there. You can just open them and there they are. So they give that support as well. Here's one for the soul of your loved one after death. It's called A Time of Rest. I'll just preface this by saying, especially many people who have had painful deaths, they need rest. Just like we need rest when we've been through a painful time. So it's the same. It is time to rest now, to gently be. You are subtly adjusting to your new environment. It will feel strange at first, not having a body. You will go wherever your thought goes, which can be a bit bewildering to start. Best now to close the eyes of your soul and sigh into peace. Plenty of time for adventures later. So in that way, we can really help a soul just to rest. And in that rest, then they have that ability to then adjust to their new reality. I remember a time I was actually in hospital, and it was actually the time of Samhain, the Day of the Dead festival celebration, the end of October, and I was in hospital, and I had this shall we say waking dream where I was actually walking through the hospital, but it was all light. It was pure light. And there were no nurses, there were no doctors, there were no machines. It was just these rooms of light. And I was walking through, and I kept saying, have I died? Have I died? Have I died? And like, have I died? and then some part of my brain went, well, gee, there's no one around and it's awfully light there. It's very light. And then my soul began traveling really swiftly, like really swiftly. And for anyone who may be aware of the Tibetan Day of the Dead, Tibetan Book of the Dead, sorry, that's one of the things that a soul can move very, very swiftly. And I started to see blue lights. And I knew in my mind, I knew that if you start to see blue lights, that means you're going to reincarnate. And I remember going, whoa, okay, no, we're going back. So I stopped the whole thing and came back. I often wonder, I wonder what would have happened if I'd kept going. So I wasn't sure if this was, I had really died and I was moving on and I came back, which I know is possible, or if it was like a teaching dream, because sometimes we can have teaching dreams where they just will show us maybe what will happen. So yeah, good to be aware. And maybe when it comes to us, and maybe if you are a bit confused and go, have I died? It would be great to have friends on the other side who are saying, you have died. And that might come through and you'll go, oh, I have. Okay. So we can also prepare the way by putting this book in the hands of our friends and saying, can you say this particular poem or write our own so that they know what to do? So then we're really confident that we have friends who know what to do. And so therefore, it's going to make us more confident in our death journey. So, of course, in the book, I don't shy away from the difficult because my mother went through depression. She went through existential crisis. She wanted to die and prayed to die, and she didn't. Then she decided she wanted to heal and live, so she prayed to heal and live, but she didn't. So it's like there's also the real reality of the difficulties and the difficult emotions that one might go through. And I know I've had friends who went through very difficult times, but they came out the other side fine. So it was almost like their last purging effort. It was like the last purge of the negative, the last purge before they emerged. So we need to also be prepared for that because we don't know if that will happen. It might happen to us, it might happen to our loved ones. So again, things in here that can be helpful for that. So it's a little death manual in many ways. In a very grief is in there, how to be with grief, but also moving through the grief into new life. So I'll read this last one here. It's called The Soul Land of Freedom. And so this is when the soul has, your loved one has died. They have moved through the realms. They have come into a greater freedom of being. And so it's a conversation between the soul who has departed and now in the expansiveness and a being who is still here on earth. I am feeling so light. If I think of somewhere, there I am. It is so expansive. What is it like, this expanse? It is like the vast ocean in the night, endless waves of life potential, forming and changing at will by thought. Do you feel lost there in all that space? I cannot be lost because it is who I am. It is who you are. We are like the stars in the cosmic womb, shining our love wherever we go. Does it ever end, this expanse? Love does not end. Love does not begin. We are all bornless and ever being born. When will I join you? When it is time. Remember, even the angels do not know this. Sometimes it is so hard on this earth, so much pain and sorrow, the energy dense and narrow. There are days I want to take flight. And so you can, right where you are. Come deep within. Let go into love and trust. These are your best cosmic guides, I love you. I love you too. Trust in this love to open the way. So there is another beautiful guide for us all. You know, I remember a documentary with the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu. And right at the end, the Dalai Lama, Archbishop Tutu was heading off in the car, and the Dalai Lama puts his head through the window and he says, I'm going to remember your smiling face on my deathbed.
Oh.
Beautiful, right? So there's another beautiful guide for us. Whose smiling face are we going to remember? Who do we trust in enough to know that they will be there with us and help us onwards? So that's something else we can figure in, not just the guides on the other side, but the guides on this side, as in our loved ones. Who makes our hearts swell, with pure love, and who's going to make us feel safe and okay, that everything's going to be fine. So, there's a lot of I guess food for thought here, a lot of contemplation for each one of us. How will we be if our bodies are causing pain? How will we be if we get depressed? How will we be if we're struggling to let go? Who will help us? So it's like in this way we can prepare. And when it comes, if it comes, we go, oh yeah, we knew this was part of the territory. Okay, I'm prepared. So instead of like not thinking that it's going to not be a reality, like I know my mom, she always wanted to just die in her sleep, painless, no mess. And, she had to go through the mess and she had to go through the pain. So, it's like we really don't know which will be ours. We really don't know. So, it's like, okay, let's get ready, and let's get ready to help others. And in person and in spirit. So I would love to open up now for any of you to bring forward any of your experiences with your loved ones, or any of your fears or concerns, anything at all that you want to share. And because I can't see you all at once here, just, unmute yourselves and just jump on in. Or if any of you have managed to get the book and there's some, something in there that sparks you, or you have a question about, please just also, you can do that too, just whatever you feel. Claire.
Meghan, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. I think one of the most important things that I have experienced and that I try to convey to people who are distressed because their loved ones are dying is that the relationship doesn't change.
Yeah.
The connection changes, but the relationship does not change. It's not always easy to convince some people that that is true. And but I have just experienced so many dear ones passing over, and they're still available to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank
So
you.
I think Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, thank you for that, Claire. And yes, I think it is, yes, how to convey that. And I think that that's, you know, if we can somehow bring people into, once they grieve, into an openness, and I think that this is the whole thing, that once we can come into our own presence, then we can be open to that. Because it's a little hard to be open to that if you're still swilling around, just being busy all the time and so forth. Yeah. And I do, yes, I love it, because I say here, bodies may slowly separate, but souls are always journeying together. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Tracy.
Thank you for this book. It's going to be just have so much insurmountable advice and guidance in it. Amazing. Thank you. The first one you read, what page was that on? I couldn't find it.
Was that the support one?
Yeah, the first one, the one about below. Oh, sorry, my husband
Going
is
below.
soaring outside.
We can't hear it. We can't
Oh,
hear it.
good. Oh, good.
Page 56.
Okay. Yeah, my father's cancer has spread to his bones, and I know he's on his way out, and I feel that this would be a really good one to start with him. Because
Yeah.
he's not open to talking. So if I can start reading to him,
Yeah.
it might open him up to get ready. So I really loved that. I think that would meet him in the place where he's at the moment.
Right. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Mm.
And yeah, I think that's it, and I say here too, death is not linear. The book is linear, it's like, okay, here we go. There's the diagnosis. Here's this, here's the uncertainty. Here's the family shock. Here's the declaration you're dying. And, it's like, but these things come in circles, right? It's like we never know which one's which. So yeah, I always say to people, just look at the table of contents and see what's relevant right now, and find what's there. But beautiful. Well, oh gosh, blessings to you and your dad and your whole family.
Very quick turnaround after my brother. So
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. It's like, oh, here you go again.
And my auntie.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. So anyway, so this book's going to be fabulous for me to read, from.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah. And find ones for yourself too. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. 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 Oh, well, blessings to you all on that journey that's on its way. Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else want to share anything?
I'll share.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I had been in India for 2 years, and then because of COVID, I had to leave. And right when I landed in San Francisco, I got a call from my sister that my 93-year-old mother had fallen. And so I was able to go to Salt Lake City and take her through her fall, and then finally she had cancer in her uterus, and her doctor telling her she needed to have it removed, and I didn't think it was a good idea at that age, and she did it, and it wasn't all contained. But it was like it was such a gift of love to have that time just 24/7 to be with her every moment. And her favorite bird was hummingbird. And someone came to her front door. It was a friend of mine and knocked on the door. And right then a hummingbird just went right up to my chest and started hovering. And I said, "You've got to go. You've got to go. My mom's going to be dying very soon now." And the next day, and I had this prayer in my heart that I would be there when she took her last, and I was sleeping on the sofa next to her hospital bed in the living room, but I just had this thing, I wanted to be there for her last breath. And I stood up to go to the bathroom in the morning and I heard that breath and I was able to just grab her and hold her. And it was just such a profound moment for me to be with her as she was crossing over. So I just wanted to share that. And thank you for your book. It would have been amazing to have had that at the time, but I'll have it for whenever in the future.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, it's, you know, eh, it's such a interesting time because the people who are dying actually give us such a great gift.
Mm,
There's so much love that is unfolding. You
yeah.
know, there's so much love. Like I remember precious moments with my mom, and I too, you know, I had 7 weeks of just being with her day and night. And it was just, and I would just often just sit there and be in the presence with her, you know. And then she would just every now and again she'd open her eyes and then she'd just tell me something. And I heard things that I didn't know. And one of the most beautiful, I remember the feeling of love, was she just opened her eyes and she said, "Oh, my grandmother was so loving to me." And
Oh,
I used to go there after school and she would hug me and kiss me and give me all sorts of treats. And then she said, "My mom didn't know how to do that."
mm,
But it was like there was so much love. She was remembering that. And I just felt all that love like come out over to me into my soul. And then she just lay back and, you know, and so I call that, you know, going back, the treasure chest of life and death.
mm,
You know, and I talk about that the memory, the mind can become very watery, you know, and so you could see there were times that she didn't know if it was happening now or it was in the past, you know, and so it was becoming so vivid to her, and that love was so palpable. And so it was, yeah, just a gorgeous moment. And I just felt it like, oh, come all the way into me. It was, and then she just, you know, laid back eyes and just drifted off again. So yeah, precious, precious moments. If
mm.
we can be just in the stillness and
Yeah,
allow their wisdom to also take hold.
right. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Oh, by the way, I will say that yes, I've had a couple of nurses say that they wish they'd had the book when they were dealing with dying people, and wish they could have put it in the hands of families. Yeah.
It will be
So
such a huge gift.
yeah, so hopefully it will slowly circulate out there where it's needed.
It definitely.
Anybody else like to share anything?
I would, Megan.
Yeah, Nancy.
I think I've told you this before as a memory of when my dad died. He had a massive stroke and I was on the other side. We lived in the East and I was in the West visiting. And oh, I just hoped, I got a plane as soon as I could and to come back here and come to Bangor where he was in the hospital. And I was so grateful without understanding why that he was still alive. He was in a coma, I guess. But it seemed so wonderful to me that well, I thought of it as that he waited. I don't know, of course.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and he died after a few days, and my first, his second wife was there, and her sister and I were there, and I immediately said, "Where's his belly button?" And not wanting to be, I don't know, whatever. And it wasn't it wasn't thought out. It was just a response right away. And so they said, right here. So I put my hands under the blanket on his belly button and had a sort of a journey where he and I were walking together, holding hands, walking and walking. And at some point he stopped and said, "You have to go back now." So I did. um, that was there was something very complete about that. I don't know exactly what I mean, but it's a precious, lives with me.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I feel the reality of it, Nancy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Mother, I was there also when Mother died, but I I feel some distress that I was busy singing. And she was in a coma also. It was a very short time rather than some days with Dad, but so I was singing Dona Nobis, and when I first started singing it, there was a slight squeeze of my hand. I had taken her hand, but I kept singing it, and I missed when she died, and it was hard to believe that she died because in my eyes, I swore she was still breathing.
Well,
Still movement,
right. Interesting. I wonder, Nancy, because of your innate shamanic instinct and ability, which clearly demonstrated with your dad, when you say I swore she was still breathing, we've been told by doctors that once that last breath is taken, that's it. And in fact, it's not it. It takes at least another 20 to 30 minutes for the soul to actually release from the body. So it could well be you were, because I felt it with my mother. I knew there it was, no breath, but I knew she was still there. And so I began a very sort of shamanic process of helping to release the soul. And so, it's like, oh, that's what we don't realize. It takes that time. So, my instinct is, oh, yeah, you were there when she died. You were present. And perhaps understanding it this way, that your singing was helping the soul to release and continue the journey.
Well, that would be lovely. I don't
Yeah.
know. I sort of imagined Mother was saying, "Nancy, that's enough already."
Maybe, but I sense it was more, you see, that what I hear with these stories is your innate wisdom just kicking in.
And sort of, in some sense, it isn't mine. It's something that's there.
Yeah.
I loved about your book. Let's see if I have to look at a few notes. I can see them here. I mostly know what I mean to say. Just that I liked that it led me inward and to the place where sort of understanding lives. And I loved the moment where you had I don't know if someone had just died, but it was certainly, it may have been someone had just died, and you said a new song begins.
Mm.
And there's a way that the words and some of the images kind of go in.
Yeah.
And that's one, I think, that's, there's a lovely gift in that. And I loved it that you left room for, whatever life that may be. There's another life beginning, whatever life that may be. I love that you left room for us to live into that without having some definition that kind of, who knows what it might do to our ability to be there.
Mm. 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 Thank you so much. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, and as I said in the introduction, it was a huge surprise, the format that it actually took, because it was initially written in the traditional nonfiction format. And then when I sat down to rewrite, all I heard was like, as I was going to do the nonfiction format, was like blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh, I'm so bored with this nonfiction, like blah, blah, telling out blah, blah, instructing blah, blah. And so I sat with it, and then boom, all of these poems came out. And actually all of the poems were written in 9 days.
Mm.
And the whole book, and then the introduction and the afterward was 2 days. So the whole book was written in 11 days. And it was easy. It wasn't like a stress. It wasn't draining. It just, because I think the information and the experiences have been sitting in there for so many years. And I had written it in the blah, blah form. So, it was like, oh, I was so surprised by it. But I think you've sort of taken it in there that it gives, you need space in death. So even the whole format is, it's big type. It's a big book. It's like, I wanted space. Not that people were going to be reading small print, especially if you're dying, you're not going to see small print, and just having the page space, to give that sense, to allow you to go where you need to go with it. So yeah. So thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Meghan,
Yeah.
I thank you so much for this book. I think, as you said, it's a manual and a handbook. And as a former nurse, I'm going to be handing this on to my colleagues who are still in practice, because I think the way that you have written it is that it's deep, but it's light enough to, as you say, the format is light enough for people to pick it up and find a page, any page, and feel they've landed in the right place. And I think that I was surprised at the way you had written it. I thought it would be more dense in the text, but the relief I felt, because both personally, when I lost my loved ones, you need to be able to, you haven't got the space to concentrate. You need to be, and I remember when my own mother was dying, and you accompanied me with that, it was the depth, but the simpleness that carried me. And I so needed that. And one of the things I want to bring up was the waiting of time after the person has died. There's so much rush and clatter in. And my mother died during a COVID lockdown. And so I happened to be the only one in the room. And it was only because an older woman had said to me when her husband died, she decided to wait half an hour before she contacted the family. Now, as a nurse, I always knew, well, when somebody dies, you let somebody know. But with my mother, I decided, I just waited 10 minutes because I wasn't used to that, but it was the most blissful 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And the moment that I went to tell a nurse that she died, all, all activity broke loose. And
Yeah.
it seemed that, something was disturbed that I didn't know. So I was very happy to read that. And I'd love people to know that. And the other thing that I thought to say was, even though I was by myself, that room was full of sacred presence. I don't see, but I felt there were angels, there was Holy Mother. It was the most beautiful, fragrant presence. And you describe things like that in the book that I think takes the fear out of death for people. Yeah. So thank you with all my heart. It's a beautiful book. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Paula. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I love the Jewish sort of saying of when somebody is born, when a baby is born on earth, all of the humans are joyful and rejoice, and the angels are crying because they know that one will forget who they are. And then when somebody is dying, all the humans are crying, but the angels are rejoicing because they know that human one will be remembering who they are.
Yeah.
So I think we do a bit of both, I think that's it. It's like being able to do both, the human crying and the presence rejoicing.
But I think also to say too, Megan, that a lot of people are very concerned if they're not with their loved one when they take their last breath. There's an energetic thing that's going on and everything is included. So yeah, not to be too hung up about whether we're right there or we walked out of the room.
Yeah.
And that, it's the presence and the prayer, and as you say, the 3 days afterwards and on afterwards. It's what it will be, and it's different, as you say, for everyone.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Be gentle with that, with yourself.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? Because a lot of people who, especially those who feel responsible for their families, they won't die while the family's there.
That's right. That's right.
And my mum actually died. It was a miracle. She had someone with her 24 hours for day upon day upon day upon week. And somehow, I don't even know how it happened, the very morning that she died, no one was with her. It was like, how did that even happen? Because we were all there. I was in the shower and I just started singing the Lord's Prayer. And because she loved the Lord's Prayer, and I was singing it over and over and over. And I'm like, why am I singing the Lord's Prayer over and over and over? And I just kept singing it. And then next minute, my sister came in and my sister said, come quick, she's gone. And you know what my response was? Gone where? It was like, even after all of that preparation, right? It was still like what was she's gone on a picnic? She's gone to the opera? I mean, really, gone where? And later I was like, that was so strange. And my sister went, no, she's gone. And I went, oh.
Yeah, it really is a sense of Kairos time, isn't it? And
Yeah. So yes, and there's all sorts of, I think there's the humor that comes in as well. That's a saving grace. The most beautiful, the funniest thing I always cherish with my mom is that, of course, her bowels were exploding at different times, and at one point I had to clean her everywhere, like everywhere. And of course she was like, and we had to clean the bed. And so I was sponging her, and she was lying there and her lips were pursed, you know, and she was mortified, of course, you know, just mortified. And then she just said, you know, it's at times like these that you wish you'd been a nudist. And we just cracked up. I mean, it was so precious. I mean, who would have thought a dying person would come out with that, you know? And there she was, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, really, really love. But then she sort of later on, she goes, oh, actually, I remembered I had to bathe my father. And then so she was like fine with it. I was like, oh, that's right. This is what happens. So, all right. Anybody else before we?
I would. Can you see me?
Yes, Pat.
Okay. Okay, a couple of things. I wanted to say that in the last couple of years, I've had two friends that I was close to pass away. And as conversations close to their death, very, very warm conversation. And as I read the book, I thought it would have been such a wonderful companion, and it would have enriched our conversation. I could have used some of these things to talk about. I really appreciate your book. I'm going to keep it close.
Wonderful.
The second thing, it really makes me happy. I want to read you page.
Yep.
About your grandfather or the dying. Look, man, see the ladies in white. They have come to take me with them. Well, that so reminds me of one of my favorite aunts. Her name was Nan. And she had a sister, Mildred. And she died at 94, maybe 7 or 8 years ago. And I think of this all the time. I wasn't with her when she died, but her daughter told me that the few days before she died, I was in close contact with them, and she would see Mildred. And Mildred, she said, Mildred's coming for me. Mildred's coming for me. And so when my Aunt Nan died, I've always had this image of Mildred flying in like an angel and grabbing Aunt Nan's hand and said, come on, Nan, let's go. And then flying off together in these little long dresses, you know, with their hands flying off home. I just thought, so when I read about your grandfather, and I said, yes, I know that.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. And what's extraordinary, Pat, is my grandfather was like pretty much an atheist. And right, and didn't believe in anything. So it was a miracle for him to experience that, and yet he did. So yeah,
Somebody was coming for him.
yeah, yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I know, and I know it's you know, for somebody who perhaps isn't spiritually aligned or it isn't connected to other beings, that's it. You know, you can call on past family members to be your aides and to help you journey onwards. So lovely. I'm so glad. And you know it, you know it's real, you know it's real when you've experienced these through other people.
That's true.
Yeah. So that also gives us pause, doesn't it? Like, who will we call on? You know? Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Pat. So rich, isn't it? It's so rich.
All of these things could talk about a lot more.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed. And I, you know, we will indeed. I'm thinking of you know, rather than a traditional sort of course workshop, I'm sort of thinking of maybe doing Dying into Love meditations and conversations, you know, so that we take a couple of the reflections, the poems, and sit with them and then meditate with them and then share about them. Because I feel like they have the capacity to go take us very deep, you know, and can really bring us into some new territory within our own beings. So I would just say I'd love for you to do this if you would, when you've read the book, and if you feel inclined, I would love for you to go to Amazon and write a review, because that's always like a very helpful thing. People look to that, and just, you know, feel free to spread the word amongst your friends and family, and just you know, let's get it out there so that it helps people in many ways. Tim, yeah.
Good. So thank you very much, Meghan. Just really splendid. I really enjoy the new and poetic format as well, as a different way of and a different level of engaging the whole topic. I just get a kick out of your blah, blah, blah. My teeth. So just in terms of promotion, you know, I've already suggested it to both my sister who's in a leadership position in hospice, and, you know, another person who's a volunteer, and also to this place called the Center for Conscious Living and Dying in Asheville, North Carolina. But what I'm wondering, the question is, in terms of getting reviews of it, so you have several pages of endorsements and reviews that are really wonderful. What I'm wondering about is publications that would review it, or that would, you know, carry a summary. So you know, anything from Spiritual Directors International, you know, magazine to I have no idea what other places like the Sun magazine or you know, onto the New York Review of Books. But I'm just curious, you know, if you have an interest in kind of publishing houses in terms of promotion.
I mean, yes, I haven't sort of looked at that avenue yet. And because, you see, I've self-published this, Tim, right? It's, you know, I don't have that information at hand. So I would be more than welcome. I haven't sat down and done the research yet. Unfortunately, that's not my strong side.
It's not mine either, but I have the thoughts, the ideas.
Yeah, but I love that. And so I would say that to people, if you think you come across any publications or any online places that you feel would be good, just send me an email with the link. And I can send them a book, or I can, you know, send them the ebook and see if they would do that. That would be really, really great. I haven't, and it's a little trickier too now that I'm in New Zealand, to do that. But of course, I can still connect in. So the other place, I don't know if Jean is still here with us. I think you're involved with Unity Church. That's also another avenue that I'd like to go. It's just a matter of finding the right person into the right place, right? So yes, I would say to people, if there's any place on the internet or publication you feel would be helpful, or you do have an inroad somewhere with hospice, or, you know, where you think it might be really helpful, then please just send me an email with that info, and I will definitely follow that up. So thank you for that, Tim. That's what needs to happen. So that's yes. Phase one was the writing. Phase two, getting it into print form. Now phase three is the promotion. Because yes, you can have, you know, a good book, but doesn't fly anywhere if there's no exposure. So yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, anyone else before we wrap up here? Celia.
Yeah, Megan, thank you. Thank you. I mean, it just sounds like the book. I have not read it, but I know you. And I feel that it's really more of a guiding hand than a manual. And I
Right.
think it's so appropriate for, I think, families and individuals who may not be connected in any way.
Yeah.
Look, I have, certainly friends who are in spiritual communities, and there's more of there's more grounding for people to support each other, et cetera. But for common families, that's not always the case.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be wonderful, to have it in our hands, just to be able to, even in our own deaths, to pass on to my own friends or, my godsons, et cetera.
Yeah.
I was thinking, as we were just talking about networking the book, I know someone here in hospice, and who used to work for hospice in Santa Cruz. And so I'll see what I can do to pass it on to them. But I was wondering about things like, like the public library systems, or, like someplace where it can be in the public arena without it necessarily being, a publishing house kind of thing. That's a different path. But just a thought that came up because I'm actually exploring some opportunities in the public libraries right now. So anyway, just a thought, about where it could possibly land, where it can land in people's hands, everyday people. Outside of the structure. Besides, of course, the churches, Unity, and all the other, or at least maybe that could be a place to have those dialogues you're talking about.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Anyway,
Perfect.
but congratulations. Glad to see it's out.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Someone else, last ditch effort before we wrap it up. I know we're. Anyone? Okay. Well, thank you all so much for joining today and your contributions. And let's just close this with a short prayer. So we gather all of those who have died, all those who are dying, and all of us who will die. May the angel of comfort come to all and allow the soul journey to be one of peace and ease, one of acceptance and openness. One that will allow new life to unfold in whatever way it needs. Remembering and knowing that we are all journeying together, all realms, all beings, assisting and loving each other back into our home of love. May all souls fly free into their true nature. Amen and amen. So, thank you so much. I'm delighted to see you all. And I wish you wonderful springtime for those of you over that side of the world, and a sweet, peaceful autumn time for those of us over this side of the world. We are the ones who are unfolding into the dying right now. But of course, as we know, every spring is also a dying process of the old being let go of. So many thanks. Yeah, feel free to send any links that you think might be helpful, and I will be slowly following up with that promotional arm. All right. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank
Bye.
you, Megan. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye bye.
Bye.